Good evening, everyone. Please ensure your phones are switched off or on silent and be upstanding for the Chairman of the Council.
Thank you. There are no fire drills planned for this evening. So if the fire alarm is activated, which is a continuous siren with a red flashing light, please leave the building immediately following the fire exit signs. Before we formally commence the meeting, as council members come together in a quiet moment of reflection, I would ask Father Stephen to lead us in prayer. If any member wishes the opportunity to leave the chamber during this time, can I please ask them to leave quietly and wait in the members' room? You, Father Stephen.
Mighty and eternal God, to whom we must all give account, guide with your spirit members of this district council, they may be faithful to your mind, keep all their purposes rich, in all their purposes to enrich our common life. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father Mitchell. Going to get them. Thank you. I'd just like to remind everyone that this meeting may be audio recorded and it is streaming live on YouTube. So I ask that you please ensure you are speaking clearly into the microphone. And just as a reminder, if you leave the chamber during an item, you will not be able to take part in the vote. And please also be reminded that there is exempt information in this agenda. And if anyone wishes to discuss the detail, we will have to clear the public gallery and stop the YouTube feed. I will now start the meeting. Are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chairman. I've received apologies of absence from councillors Allen, Algar, Barker, Barnett, Clayton, Gustard, Hogarth, Lehman, Manham Perry, Maskell, Robinson and Varley.
Thank you. So to item 1, I move from the chair that the minutes of the meeting of council held on the 4th. Sorry.
Could you add Councillor Leyland to that list, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Okay. Item 1, I move from the chair that the minutes of the meeting of council held on the 14th of May 2026 be approved and signed as a correct record. Does anyone have any amendments? Nope. Okay, so those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's carried. Thank you. Item 2, are there any declarations of interest not already included within the members' register of interests? None. Thank you. So item 3 is Chairman's announcements. So during my first 6 weeks or so as chairman, I've been enjoying various events and I've attended several things across the district. I've had the pleasure of meeting our neighbouring mayors and chairmen at the Lord Lieutenant's civic reception and the Bishop of Rochester's garden party. I'm due to attend a number of events across the district and further afield and look forward to building relationships with other councils. I've also attended, for my chosen charity, Bore Place, the 50th anniversary celebrations. This was a wonderful heart-lifting event which highlighted the importance of supporting children with learning disabilities in exploring and connecting with the natural world, and which raises their self-confidence. Mentioning Ball Place, I'd be grateful if you could please save the following dates, as I'm organising 2 unusual, fun and informative events on the 12th of August and the 10th of September. Further details will follow once I finalise the details. Please also don't forget about Family Fun Days that are coming up in July and August, which may be one near you, which promise to be a good day out for all ages. Thank you. Thank you. Item 4, I've been advised that we have no public questions under paragraph 17, part 2 of the Constitution. Item 5, I've been advised that we have no petitions to receive that meet the criteria set down under paragraph 18 of part 2 of the Constitution. So on to agenda item 6, matters considered by the Cabinet or the Scrutiny Committee. Item 6A is land east of the High Street. Councillor Horwood.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to move that Council delegates authority to the Strategic Head of Property and Commercial, together with the Section 151 Officer and the Head of Legal and Democratic Services, following consultation with the Cabinet Member for Finance and Investments and the Cabinet Member for Innovation and Improvement, to negotiate, finalise and enter into a loan agreement with Waits as the development partner and all associated documentation with the preferred tenderer in accordance with the agreed heads of terms, subject to securing planning and financial viability. B, the loan facility shall be for a sum of up to 40 million, ring-fenced solely to fund the public works element of the project, and shall be repaid with interest by the development partner from the proceeds generated through the sale of the residential units within the development and the preferred tenderer's own equity should there be a shortfall in sales. And C, notes that if the council enters into a development agreement, the preferred tenderer scheme proposals and design will then be developed and refined and are subject in particular to planning permission, financial viability and vacant possession.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
I'm happy to second, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Horwood.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm very pleased this evening to put forward what is one of the most significant regeneration, community and leisure projects ever undertaken by this council. This project has been many years in the making to where we are now, but I want to make very clear at the outset, we are by no means at the end of this project. What is proposed before us is the start of the journey with a development partner to refine and enhance the draft proposals that members have seen to date. As we know, the critical element of this scheme is to provide Sevenoaks and all its neighbouring communities with a new leisure centre. The old leisure centre is reaching the end of its life, and this scheme directly helps deliver a brand new leisure centre for residents, which will serve our community for generations to come. We have already started the leisure centre procurement process to help ensure any future leisure operating towards the development of the new building, using their experience of what works and what leisure centres use would greatly benefit from. As we know, we do not get any funding from national government to specifically deliver the rebuild of existing leisure provision. Every pound of cost of this leisure centre must be achieved by this development scheme, especially in light of the forthcoming local government reorganisation. The preferred development partner and officers have worked incredibly hard to ensure at this current point there is no funding gap, and that gives the project the best chances of success despite the turmoil and uncertainty of local government reorganisation. As noted in this report, with the appointment of a development partner, engagement can once again commence with the proposed scheme. This will allow residents, businesses, schools and many other partners to help redefine the draft proposals using engagement and feedback to inform the final designs. The development partner also wants to be directly involved with this engagement to ensure that views are listened to and a final scheme is something that residents have directly helped to shape. I'm also pleased to note the inclusion of the design review panel to help shape the design to further ensure we achieve design excellence. I'm pleased to put forward this ambitious project in order to secure a new leisure centre for Sevenoaks residents. And I look forward to the forthcoming public engagement where we will work alongside the development partner to update residents on the project proposals and to help refine the scheme into something that we can all feel very proud of. Thank you, Chairman.
Is there any debate? Councillor Skinner.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to propose an amendment. I would like to propose an amendment to delete the words finalise and enter into from the 5th line of paragraph F of the recommendation, and to add and bring the negotiated agreement to council for further consideration at the end of the paragraph.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this amendment?
I'd be happy to second, Chair.
Thank you, councillor Shay. Councillor Skinner.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm moving this amendment because it strengthens the governance of this project, protects the council's financial position, and ensures that elected members, not officers, take the final decision on one of the largest financial commitments this council has ever contemplated. Let me be absolutely clear at the outset. This amendment does not block progress. It does not delay negotiations. It does not undermine the scheme. Officers can continue to negotiate with Wates exactly as proposed. Cabinet can continue to oversee the process. The development work continues. What this amendment does is simple, responsible, and entirely consistent with national guidance on good decision making. It ensures that when those negotiations are complete, the final loan agreement, the actual terms, the actual security, the actual repayment structure comes back to council for approval before we enter into anything legally binding. The Local Government Association's guidance on decision making is clear. The level of assurance and scrutiny must increase with the significance and impact of the decision. A 40 million loan facility is not routine business. It's not a technical adjustment. It's one of the most significant financial exposures this council has ever considered. And the guidance says plainly that councillors, not officers, take decisions of this magnitude. The current wording in paragraph F delegates authorities to officers to negotiate, finalise and enter into the loan agreement. The phrase finalise and enter into would allow a binding commitment to be made without council ever seeing the final terms. This is not good practice. It's not what the LGA recommends, and it is not what residents expect when public money is involved. The amendment also protects officers. Delegating authority to enter into a multi-million-pound loan agreement places enormous responsibility on them. Requiring council approval for the final negotiated agreement gives them a clear mandate and ensures they are not left carrying the risk of making a decision that rightly belongs to elected members. And finally, this amendment strengthens public confidence. Residents expect transparency when large sums of public money are involved. Bringing the negotiated agreement back to council demonstrates openness. It shows that we're taking our stewardship responsibilities seriously. It avoids any perception that decisions are being made behind closed doors. This is a constructive amendment. It supports officers, it supports good governance, it aligns with national guidance, and it ensures that the final decision on a £40 million commitment is taken by the people who are democratically accountable for it. I commend the amendment.
Thank you, councillor. Is there further debate? Okay. No one else wishes to speak? Then we'll move to a vote.
Sorry, point of order, Chairman. I think the
Sorry.
seconder needs a right of.
Field. Councillor Hallwood, did you want to? Sorry. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. I guess the first of all would just be to clarify the exact wording, if it would be possible, just from Councillor Skinner. Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, Chairman. Yeah, if I can, I think it would have been helpful knowing this amendment in advance. Particularly with the timescales of the project that we are working to. Clearly, any requirement to come back to this council will have an impact on the timeline, even if that meeting is called as an EGM. We know it can be difficult to schedule EGMs, of full council extraordinary general meetings. Because obviously it requires obviously not just councillors' agreement, but obviously key officers. And in the past, obviously that has meant that there has been more significant delays. In terms of it's not just officer oversight, both myself and the cabinet member for finance. would also have oversight of the agreement with the developer and the loan agreement. So it's not wholly officers that would have that final oversight. But I think the key point here is that we do have a strict timeline that we are trying to work to, and I obviously disagree with Councillor Skinner that this wouldn't delay it. It would cause a delay. We are working to timeframes, and unfortunately, it's not something I can support.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Stretfield, I didn't catch what you were saying.
Sorry, Chairman, it was a point of order saying that the seconder hadn't been given a right of seconding it or to reserve her right.
I think I did ask if anyone else wanted to speak, but
I think, Chair, that Councillor Skinner has made his points clearly and well. The concern here is that it's a project which is changing, and that there needs to be time to take that extra scrutiny and to give ourselves the time to bring it back to members for the oversight that's required. I would hate for us to have our hands tied by an LGR process that is not connected to this scheme. The success or failure of this scheme will determine the success or failure of the whole town centre for a very, very long time to come. And it would do as well to take our time to get this decision right, and to give ourselves the time needed to do that. And that's why I support the amendment.
thank you. Okay, I'm going to move to a vote now. So can I ask for those who are in favour of the... Oh, did you want to come back? Sorry, Councillor Skinner.
Sorry, Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I think I have a right to respond. I think that the most a delay would be, as Councillor Horwood says, we can call an EGM if necessary. We're talking about 3 or 4 weeks. And I think it's our responsibility. We are the
very start. Which one of us can forget the orange stickers we were asked to place like primary school children on things that we thought were important? The public have been kept in the dark since the first consultation. They believe that there will be no break in leisure facilities. We know from papers that are not gold that there is a very high risk that there will be a break, and that break can only increase with the costs that Councillor Purvis has quite rightly put in front of us as the risk. And this loan that is being proposed with no recourse to this council represents another financial risk. Now, I note that that is neither directing the project correctly or protecting taxpayers' money or delivering the services that Sevenoaks actually needs. And I am, as I think Councillor Grint would hopefully agree, that we have heard in FIAC, in the advisory committee's chairman, that there is a raft of issues with the finances of this project, and that we have heard multiple different answers to questions that we have asked in those committees. So am I confident that the cabinet member and the cabinet member for finance are the right people, and they alone to be overseeing this project? The answer can only be no, I'm not. And if the cabinet member had glanced behind him during the last vote, there are several members of his party who are equally unsure as I am. Some actually didn't vote for it, or did vote for the amendment rather, and others were so tentative in their support as to be to give me absolutely no confidence that he holds the confidence of the party in charge. We are a member-led organisation. The officers are to advise and we are to decide. That is how our democracy is supposed to work. The cabinet member knows he has a brief. He does not have the right to make that decision. It should be for this council. And therefore, at this stage, one can only oppose what is in front of us, because the project has turned into a donut. Literally a donut with a hole in the middle. A hole in the middle of the project where the library should be, a hole in the middle of the project where the finances should be, and a hole in the middle of the project where the leisure facilities should be. It is absolutely not good enough, and the public don't know about it, and so we should vote against it, because no project is better than a bad project.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. I'm one of those people that had my hand up, Councillor Stratfield, but I won't be opposing the original proposal, because I don't want to see this project stopped or delayed any further. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more come back to members, but as it is, we are where we are with it, so I won't be opposing it tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Grint. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I'm speaking in response to the points made by Councillor Stretfield. He raised a number of points that he attributed to me. So I'm going to speak in my capacity as chairman of the Finance and Investment Advisory Committee. We had a very good debate on this matter
concerning this and concerning that, you know, are we giving away our vote, our final vote on this effectively? I mean, I voted for the amendment just now. But like Councillor Waterton, not Councillor Waterton, who am I saying? Like Councillor Harrison, I feel that I'm like her. I think I shall vote for it with some reluctance because I'm not very happy with it. I think the amendment should have been accepted as well. But thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cole, were you indicating?
I wasn't, but I can. I was thinking of indicating. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's only natural. It's human nature that as soon as we step outside our comfort zone, that we feel an element of unease. And as my colleague Councillor Horwood has suggested, this is probably the largest project that the council has ever undertaken, with the spectre of local government reorganisation looming over the near horizon, probably the last great project that SDC will be known for. And we all hope that, and are absolutely certain it will go down in legacy as being a success. And it's right that people have those concerns and fears. We're stepping out into the unknown. We have heard that the project has changed. I disagree that the project's been mishandled. It has been a changing landscape, as we know, with certain partners stepping out and then the whole scheme having been re-evaluated. And what's to say that wouldn't happen again? And then we could find ourselves scrutinising and scrutinising and scrutinising until the cows come home and never actually getting anywhere other than talking about what we could or should do. At some point, the Chamber has to make a decision. This project has been in the offing for some time. It has been through the council process, through the committees. The recommendations are put to council from Cabinet, and that was from FIAC. We're not dealing with the minutiae, and I hear the concerns that colleagues in this chamber have raised about the parking and the other issues, but these are yet to be established and determined. I hope I'm not taking Councillor Horwood's thunder here. This is the principle. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, do we want a leisure centre or do we not? It is what it basically boils down to. The work has been done, a lot of work has been done, a lot of refinement has been done, and I think what we have before us this evening is the optimum template to step forward to take on this bold, ambitious project. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Skinner.
Thank you. I was quite looking forward to this debate. Councillor Horwood will remember, we've been talking about this for several years, enthusiastically and excitedly, and thinking how the centre of the town, Sevenoaks, could be absolutely transformed and turned into something which you would all be proud of, something which would be known across the country for its innovation, for its design. We are now looking at something which is much less exciting. Councillor Stretfield's talked about the donut. So we're building outside of the library. Parking is a real concern. I endorse what Councillor Clack is saying. The parking calculations, we have been told, have taken no account of the development in the local plan. That is very frightening. The plans for the leisure centre are not what they were when we started out. I'm concerned about the finances. I think the finances are complicated, and I think they are vulnerable to outside shocks. And I think there is a concern that we're going into a big, complicated project which is going to deliver something which is much less than we hoped for when we started. Councillor Horwood talked about consultation, and of course we all welcome the consultation with the public. I welcome that the design review panel is coming through. It's late. It should have been in place already, but better late than never. And so thank you, Councillor Horwood, for bringing that forward. Local businesses will be involved. What worries me is that we as councillors are going to get very little engagement in the design, the quality, the excitement of this project. Yes, there'll be reports going to FIAC, and yes, under Councillor Grimm's leadership, FIAC will scrutinise it, but it's reports. They're not going to FIAC for approval. They're going to FIAC to note. Yes, they will go to planning, but as we all know, because we've all been involved in planning one way or another, once something comes to planning, the debate is very circumscribed. Talks about off-ramps, but who selects whether we take that off-ramp or not? It's not the council, it's not you, it's not us. The cabinet will be doing it, I guess. Officers, now it's been delegated to them, will be doing it. There's nothing here which is saying that councillors are going to be deeply involved in the design of the most, what was it that Councillor Cole referred to it? The most important project that SDC is doing. This is a flagship project. This is something which we all ought to be part of. And we're being excluded. I feel this personally. I'm a ward councillor. It's in my ward. I've had small amounts of engagement in this. I've tried to be involved, but I've had very little involvement with this. And it shouldn't really be me as a ward councillor. It should be all of us. This is a democratic issue. This is our accountability here. We should be having a debate. I think Councillor Stretfield was talking about the Zoom thing. In some ways that's trivial, but in other ways it's really important. The public should be hearing these debates. It ought to be subject to conversation. It ought to be publicly done. So on those grounds, I'm afraid I can't vote for this. And I say that with heavy heart. I really want this to go ahead. I was really excited about this. And I really do hope it will go ahead at some stage. What we have at the moment is really substandard. But the way that it is at the moment, I think it would be breaking my responsibility as an elected representative of the people in the ward I represent for me to vote for this. I mean, so on that basis, I will not be voting for it. And I urge colleagues not to either. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Manston.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to just express my concerns that in listening to the debate, I think those who've said that they're going to be supporting to vote for this tonight have, I think, almost all said that they're not happy about it in some way or other, but that they don't want the project not to go ahead, in particular in the timescales that are laid out. And that just really worries me. I think that a project this size, we should have a lot more confidence and optimism about the project. And also, I am really concerned about the one word that I've heard tonight, which is legacy, because I think it's really important that we don't see this as just an important thing to do for our legacy project. It's a wonderful thing to achieve if we do it correctly and for the right reasons, but we mustn't go ahead with something that we're not fully confident in and have assurances on, unless, you know, just for a legacy. They're my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Granville.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank Councillor Skinner for expressing a huge amount of what I also feel. I'm also a local member. I feel disconnected from this project, and to know now that I will be disconnected from this project going forward because the motion has failed is extremely disappointing. I think we were elected in order to bring our the electorate's thoughts. I know there are going to be engagement events, but we need to make sure that those engagement events are reflected in what happens in this project. Councillor Clack mentioned the issues that he hoped he would be engaged in and be able to feed into in the future, the parking, and there's no way without having member scrutiny we will be able to do that. There isn't. The minutiae is incredibly important in a project like this, because minutiae is writ large in a project of this size. I really, I'd love to see this project go ahead. I hope it will go ahead eventually, but I can't support the motion because there isn't the oversight that we're going to need, and we can't represent our electorate without the oversight that we should be having. And I'm sorry that the amendment failed. So thank you for listening to me. I can't support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
Yes, I just want to make a short point, really, because I'm not a ward member for Sevenoaks. I'm a ward member for Edenbridge and Edenbridge North. Now, if I have to explain when my residents come to me and say, why is this spending 40 million? What is being spent on? What sort of oversight do you have over this? I would find it very difficult to say what that is, because there is no transparency. There has been very little transparency, and apart from notes to record the information to things like FIAC. And I agree with John that we've had detailed discussions in FIAC and so on, but I don't feel that they are necessarily things that have gone into the decision-making process. They may have done, but we don't know. But the bottom line here is that at the end of the day is that we as councillors have to make decisions. We have to take responsibility. The responsibility will come down to us. Then we're going to be in a position where a few people will make decisions and give us almost a fait accompli, which will have very little chance to change. That's why I think the amendment was important. We should have had that amendment. But if not, we certainly should have more council meetings. We certainly should have more meetings where these things can get reported to us, where we can actually make a formal decision about when to progress. So when we get to the gateways, it is important, I think, that the gateways are something where we have a say in it. Now, I can't support this motion as it stands at the moment. I can support it, this going on all the way through, because I've got other concerns which I can't talk about because they're gold papers. But the thing is that I certainly don't think this is the right way forward. I don't think it's the right way to run a project. And I've had 30, 40 years of project management, and I haven't seen a project being run this way before in so secretive a manner. It would definitely be involved. Even the company would be more involved, have its staff more involved in the process. So I cannot support this.
Thank you. Councillor Camp.
Thank you, Chair. I am the other ward member, and I also have a lot of concerns about this. When it first started, land east of the High Street, I was really excited. I thought this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the residents, the council, and we can do something really fantastic. But the project has been diluted somewhat from the original impression that we saw. Lots of things have changed, and I think it would be very remiss if we didn't raise concerns now. I just think that we are elected to represent the people, and the people really deserve something brilliant. And I'm not sure that this delivers exactly what it's supposed to do. I know we need it and we want it, but I really think we need to have a bit more oversight in it. So I'm sad that the amendment failed, but I can't support it.
Thank you. Councillor Solander.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I think what struck me is if local members don't want it, why? And related to the 40 million that we're being asked to approve just now, if this, sorry, did I miss something? If this has changed so far from the design, should it not require public consultation before we commit this money? And there are off ranks. I sat on FIAC, we debated for hours on FIAC, but there's a difference in the reality of the off ramps and the reality of actually using them once money has been committed and spent. I find it staggering that the unitary authority is right for the stag, but wrong for the redevelopment of a town. It seems totally contradictory. And one does learn by being out of their comfort zone, but all that shows is that we're not developers. One does not learn by spending £40 million. This doesn't have the chance to look at it in its entirety, holistically. Our advisory committees are siloed deliberately. And so this is our last chance to actually look at the entirety of the project. Is it going to deliver what we were excited about it delivering? And I agree, this idea of a legacy feels more in hope than an expectation that this is a good project. Thank you.
Thank you. So if there are no further comments, I'll return to Councillor Hallwood. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you indeed for everyone's comments throughout the debate. There's quite a few points to sort of tackle, hopefully within my time. I think first of all is addressing the point head on around engagement, and I completely understand sort of Councillor Granville and Councillor Skinner and Councillor Camp's frustration that there hasn't been more information, sort of especially recently on the involvement of it. They will know that we have been in a procurement process for just over a year just to get to this point. So literally, like obviously going through the whole bidder process to, before that, even creating the framework so that we could have the procurement process, has been, has taken up over a year of the time. Such is the significance of the project. And obviously within that, we did have engagement. We did invite members and other members as well to be part of a cross-party group to, to hear the presentations actually by all three developers. But it's really important to highlight that these were just initial draft proposals, and there is always a tension between if we had tried to go out to engage on those. First of all, we probably wouldn't have been able to because of the competitive nature of the procurement in itself. None of the developers would have said, "Oh, we're happy to the other developers to see what we're proposing," and then obviously redesign their processes. But what I can assure them is that there will be engagement, obviously, in the next phase of the project, and I would certainly envisage especially the ward councillors being part of that engagement. And in fact, I would envisage all members being part of that engagement, as well as the residents and as well as the businesses and as well as all the other stakeholders. And obviously in the report, it highlights the engagement the development partner wants to undertake. It highlights their ethos around wanting to be incredibly close to the engagement and to deliver something that they are proud of. I think to address some other points as well. So, Councillor Purvis talked about risk and the cost of the project and obviously the development. Again, there are some proposed mitigations within the risk. So, at the point of commencement of the building of the project, the development partner would take on the risks and the costs. So again, if prices dramatically changed, if there were sort of unforeseen costs, that would be at the development partner's risk and not of the council's, which is obviously very different to some of the other capital projects that we've embarked on. And again, there's also other risk mitigations that Councillor Thornton highlighted around the project. Including, if the residential sales, for example, don't come through as highlighted again within the papers, then it would be the development partner's equity that would make up the shortfall and certainly not the council's. Councillor Lindop asked about how the loan would be financed. That is in paragraph 113 of the report. So it will be through the Public Works Loan Board in back-to-back borrowing. And just I think touching, Councillor Solander talks about engagement, and again, for the reasons of we've been through this very long procurement process. Procurement processes are not fun. It's about establishing the legal and the financial and all the various documents and procedures that we had to go through to get to this point. Essentially, by progressing with the decision tonight, we are, obviously approving the development partner, and from approving the development partner, that development partner and us can then start that process of, refining the project, engaging with the public, engaging with councillors, and really getting a project that hopefully members can feel excited about. I appreciate there is a lot in this project, and I understand everyone's concern. It is a significant project, but we can't lose sight about this is an ambitious project to replace a leisure centre, and obviously Councillor Shea highlighted around sort of like her concerns around the leisure centre provision. If we potentially aren't making a decision on leisure centre provision, there is always the risk and always the possibility a future unitary authority may not progress with a leisure centre provision, and indeed there are councils across this country that have not replaced existing leisure centres, and this is a very clear commitment on our part to to achieve exactly that through, what is a very, complex project. We talked about the donut effect, and obviously Councillor Stretfield mentioned, he's mentioned numerous times about this, and it has been clearly explained to him numerous times around KCC withdrawing from the project. They didn't want to be involved with the project. So that is why there is that donut shape. We cannot force KCC to be part of the scheme. They chose to withdraw. But all in all, I think let's progress with this project and let's get Sevenoaks the new leisure centre it deserves. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. We'll move now to the vote. So those in favour of the motion, please show. Those against, please show. Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. Thank you. Moving to agenda item 7, which is to consider the following reports from the Chief Executive or other corporate directors on matters requiring the attention of the Council. Item 7A, to agree the allocation of seats to political groups in accordance with the political balance rules. Councillor Cole.
Madam Chairman, I move that A, the allocation of seats as set out in Appendix A to this report be agreed, and B, the allocation of seats for Development Management Committee to take effect from the 31st of October 2026, or as of the date the regulation changes as set out in Appendix B of this report be agreed.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Thornton.
Happy to second. Thank you.
Councillor Cole.
Thank you. I see from my notes I have 8 minutes. Let me reassure the Chamber I intend spending nowhere near that amount of time. This hopefully will be recognised as a simple process, partly brought on by the change in legislation later this year that would affect the constitution of the DMC, and also due to existing rules regarding the allocation of seats on a political basis. So I'm as I say, I'm happy to make those recommendations to the Chamber.
Okay, thank you. Is there any debate on this item? None. Okay, in that case, did you want to say anything else, Councillor Cole? Okay, thank you. So those in favour of the motion, please show. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. I believe that's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 7B, the appointment of chairman, vice chairman and membership of committees for 2026-2027. Councillor Cole.
That's getting a bit crowded. Yeah. Yes, Madam Chairman, thank you. I move that A, the appointments of chairman, vice chairman and membership of the committees for 2026 to 2027 attached as an appendix to this report in the supplementary agenda be approved. B, the revised membership as set out in Appendix B for Development Management Committee from the 31st of October 2026 be approved as of the date the regulation changes as set out in Appendix B of this report be agreed.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
I'm happy to second that, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton. Councillor Cole, would you like to say anything?
Madam Chair, for fear of repetition, I would really just mention what I did for the previous item and leave it at that with the members.
Thank you. Is there any debate on this item? Okay, thank you. In that case, we'll move to a vote. Are those in favour, please show. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That's carried. So agenda item 8 is questions from members under paragraph 19.3 of part 2 of the council's constitution. We've received 3 questions as set out within your supplementary agenda. Question 1, Councillor Skinner, would you like to read your question?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. This is to Councillor Horwood as portfolio holder for improvement and innovation. Would he set out any changes he has made to the council's programme of capital projects and their timing in the light of the resignation of the strategic head of property development and economy and impending announcements on local government reorganisation?
Thank you. Councillor Horwood, would you like to reply?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Obviously, I think many of us were very sad to learn of the strategic head of property development and economy's resignation. And I'd first of all like to place on record my thanks to Detlev's work on this council. He's made a significant contribution to the council in delivering complex projects for the district's residents and businesses and will be greatly missed. As Councillor Skinner will be aware, the council will be appointing an interim head of corporate property and development role on an internal secondment basis for a fixed period, alongside some minor adjustments to reporting lines within the service. The intention is to provide appropriate leadership and support while minimising disruption to staff, projects and stakeholders. At this stage, there is no intention to make any significant changes to the timings of the programme of capital projects. We've continued to factor in local government reorganisation uncertainty throughout the programme process, and we will continue to proceed accordingly. We will, of course, be taking a further review as soon as the LGR announcement comes out this week, and to understand what, if any, impact this has on the current proposed timetables for any of our capital projects.
Thank you. Councillor Skinner, do you have a supplementary question?
I do. Would Councillor Horwood be prepared to make the review that he's going to undertake following the announcement of local government reorganisation available to all councillors?
Councillor Horwood.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm certainly happy to write to councillors following the review, hopefully when we get the announcement this week.
Thank you very much. So question number 2 is Councillor Stretfield. Would you like to read your question?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Can I ask the leader of if the Cabinet has reviewed the council programme of capital projects and related financial proposals in light of the MHCLG guidance that councils must act to ensure any decisions taken now do not fetter the future decisions of new councils. In answering the question, could he outline what criteria he used, if any, for the review and any subsequent changes to the projects as a result of his review?
Thank you. Councillor Horwood, would you like to respond?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And yeah, certainly I'll reply in the leader's place for this. So members of Cabinet, together with officers, have been constantly reviewing the Council's programme of capital projects via the Capital Programme Boards. And indeed, when local government reorganisation was announced, it was one of our first tasks to consider the implications of local government reorganisation and capital delivery and any possible impacts on not only this council, but successor unitary authority as well. This has been done in conjunction with our property, finance and legal teams to ensure we complied with the MHCLG guidance. Our starting point has always been to ensure we act responsibly and by MHCLG. Concerns raised about our approach to our capital projects by our auditors, Grant Thornton or MHCLG. And as he will know, the key criteria, all of our capital projects in meeting the MHCLG guidance is to ensure within the business case that they are cost neutral to a future council overall within the longevity of the project, and therefore not placing a budget deficit at the outset of any project, which could potentially be seen as impacting the decisions of a future unitary authority.
Thank you. Councillor Stretfield, you have a supplementary question.
I do. So there's been, I just want to clarify, the criteria used is about the cost neutrality, and the second part of that question was the subsequent changes to any projects, but no subsequent changes have been made on the basis of that cost neutrality to future councils. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yeah, thank you. And yes, specifically in relation to the point he asked about the MHCLG guidance, yes, indeed, the cost neutrality was the criteria, and there has been no changes to any of the projects as a result of that guidance.
Thank you. Third question, councillor Granville, would you like to read your question?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to ask the leader what actions he's approved under paragraph 20 of the report tabled at council on the 30th of April, the workforce retention and the strategic management team to address the risk of reduced staff capacity in the run-up to local government reorganisation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cole.
Madam Chairman and Councillor Granville, I'm grateful for the question. Proposals to review service responsibilities and structures, additional recruitment of officers funded from existing budgets or from funding allocated for local government reorganisation, a review of relevant HR policies to ensure they adequately support the organisation through to the end of March 2028, implementing discretionary elements within current HR policies and exploring opportunities to share resources or transform teams with partner councils in the West Kent area where it is advantageous to do so, have all been utilised since approval was given in April.
Thank you. Councillor Granville, do you have a supplementary question?
No, I don't. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Okay. Before we move to agenda item 9 and considering what's to come, oh, that sounded quite threatening, didn't it? I didn't mean it to. I'm going to propose we take a short comfort break for 7 minutes. How about that? 7.5 minutes. Okay. So if we could all be back just after 15:15, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Is that
Members, are you ready for us to reconvene, please?
Members, please, I'm about to restart the meeting. If you could be seated. Thank you. We are now to agenda item 9. To consider any motions by members under paragraph 20 of part 2, the council and district council members of the constitution, notice of which have been duly given. We've received 2 motions on notice and the time is now 8:20. Councillor Stretfield, would you like to stand and move your motion?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you for your forbearance over the course of the last 9 minutes in giving us a chance to try and come together on this motion and provide something that we can all get behind, because there are times when we must oppose and there are times where we must come together, and this is definitely one of those times where we feel the urgency of this motion and the necessity of doing what we can. And I'm advised that the council cannot commit, but it can explore and it can commit.
Excuse me, sorry, Councillor Stretfield, I'm just asking you to move the motion at this point.
There's a little preamble to let people know where.
Could you move the motion first, then we can do preamble when we come to your comments.
To explain where we got to. Anyway, this council recognises that people with progressive conditions should be able to apply for adaptations as early as possible following diagnosis, so that their future needs can be anticipated rather than responded to in crisis. This council also recognises that early interventions can save taxpayer money by enabling people to manage their condition more effectively and reducing the need for critical interventions at a later stage. This council therefore commits to introducing a fast-track process for delivering home adaptations for people with progressive or terminal conditions such as MND, ensuring target timeframes of 55 days for simple adaptations and 130 days for complex adaptations are adhered to. These timelines are based on the national guidance set out by the Foundations on Disabled Facilities Grant Delivery Standards. With that in mind, the council recognises that 55 days, almost 2 months, should be seen as a maximum, and that this time frame is not appropriate for smaller adaptations such as ramps or stair lifts, which can be completed faster.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
I'd like to second that, please, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Shane. Back to you, Councillor Stretfield.
As it was getting to just before I had to read the motion out as was, I'm going to now propose an amendment to the motion immediately, because in order to try and get cross-party agreement, that we would take out the word "to commit" and input the word "explore" and commit to a report coming to Health and Housing as the next Health and Housing Advisory Committee, and then to full council for a decision on what was possible in this regard. What is possible in this regard.
Thank you. Is the amendment seconded? Thank you, Councillor.
Please second that.
Thank you. Right. Is there any debate?
Sorry, can I? Yes, I
yes,
have.
Sorry. Push me.
We have much more in common than that which divides us. And there is something of a paradox in this motion, because it shouldn't take personal experience for us to be motivated to do the right thing, but so often it is personal experience that provides that motivation. I first met Councillor Varley at a Redlands Residents Association meeting just after I was elected to Kent County Council. He was helping them with writing leaflets and campaigning to stop houses being built, which he still is, on the other side of Britain's Lane. We met for coffee. He talked about his love of Leeds United, Sevenoaks Football Club, and how he had set up a record shop during the pandemic. I discovered that he had written Lord Coe's speech to bring the Olympic Games to London and had subsequently worked on behalf of Rio and Tokyo. If you can feel how you felt on Super Saturday, then you owe a small debt to Nick Barley. M&D can take the best of us. But at that stage, motor neurone disease and a home improvement accelerated pathway were not in the conversation. They were nowhere near that conversation, and yet here we are. In those conversations, Councillor Varley made one small but crucial mistake. He told me that he'd been a member of the Liberal Democrats while he was at university. And here we are. This evening, you are going to hear about dignity, about efficiency, and a very powerful personal testimony. I hope in moving this motion this evening that we can put aside party politics for the next 45 minutes and focus on our common humanity, that we do that very basic thing of treating other people as we would wish to be treated, to walk for a second in their shoes. I cannot pretend that sitting next to Nick at these meetings he has been to over the course of the last 18 months has been anything other than a very tough watch. MND is a brutal disease. If you follow Nick on Instagram or LinkedIn, you can see for yourself the murderous physical assault that a person is subject to by this disease. You can also contribute to his fundraising efforts. And that is the bit that he has made available so that we can understand. Small snapshots. So to be able to propose this motion in his absence is a privilege, an honour and a duty. It is the duty of hope.
Thank you. Entering into debate, Councillor Skinner.
Today I'm asking you to support something simple, practical and compassionate. A fast-track route for home adaptations for residents living with motor neuron disease and other rapidly progressing conditions. The MND Association's report, A Lifeline Not a Luxury, reveals that the average time from a disabled facilities grant application to completion of major adaptation works in England is 375 days. It's over a year. Yet 1/3 of people with MND die within a year of diagnosis. For many, adaptations arrive too late to make the difference they should. Think about that. A resident who can use the stairs today may be unable to do so 6 months from now. A person who can bathe independently today may lose that ability before the grant process is complete. MND does not wait for assessments, approvals and procurement processes to catch up. People are trapped in unsuitable homes, unable to wash properly, unable to access bedrooms, and unable to enjoy the independence most of us take for granted. But there is good news. Councils across the country are already acting. Plymouth City Council introduced a fast-track process for people with terminal illnesses and life-limiting conditions. Applications are prioritised, supported by a dedicated case officer, and adaptations are delivered with an aim of completion within 7 weeks, 49 days. East Riding of Yorkshire Council unanimously backed a scheme that aims to deliver simple adaptations within 55 days and more complex adaptations within 130 days for residents with progressive terminal conditions. Forest of Dean District Council has also adopted the MND Association's fast-track motion, demonstrating that district councils can make these changes successfully. These councils recognise a simple truth. A person with a terminal illness should not stand in the same queue as a routine home improvement project. Sevenoaks now has the opportunity to show the same leadership. A fast-track pathway would reduce suffering, support carers, preserve dignity, and enable residents to spend more precious time living well at home. MND does not pause. Neither should we. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Camp.
Thank you, Chair. I want to speak today about dignity. Dignity is not an abstract principle. It means being able to get into your own home. It means being able to access a bathroom. It means being able to sleep in your own bedroom. The MND's association report makes it clear that too many people with motor neuron disease are being denied these basic rights because adaptation processes move far too slowly. The average completion time exceeds 1 year, as we've heard. Meanwhile, MND is relentless. Half of those diagnosed die within 2 years, and mobility can deteriorate dramatically within a matter of months. Families face impossible situations. I know, I've seen it. I'm on the ground. I face acute care sometimes. Living rooms become makeshift bedrooms. Carers and family members struggle to cope with the new way of life. It's a very scary time for everyone, navigating an unknown future. Yet this does not have to be the reality. As we've heard, Plymouth Council recognised that terminally ill residents needed a different response, and they now fast-track applications within 7 weeks. Gloucestershire councils agreed to fast-track grant inquiries for people with rapidly progressing and debilitating conditions such as MND. They also introduced discretionary funding options to help urgent cases receive adaptations quickly. Haimburg Housing Association, East Riding of Yorkshire, has committed to clear delivery targets because councillors accepted that every day matters for people living with terminal illness. These examples demonstrate that urgency and compassion can be built into local government processes. I'd like to add a few personal words here. I'd like to talk about choice. I've been at the forefront of acute end-of-life care for some time. I have overseen care provision at this critical stage, and it is both harrowing and rewarding in equal measure. It is called acute because time is clearly limited. No one knows exactly how long there is. Life-limiting, life-changing and life-threatening conditions can happen to anyone at any time. If we look around this chamber, we all know whose lives have changed immeasurably. Those who now live with diagnosis, with conditions, and those sadly who are no longer with us, and all since we were elected. Life can change in a heartbeat. Upon diagnosis, what I have learned are 2 things. The person does not want to be a burden to their loved ones. And importantly, they mostly all want to be at home until the end. So to be blunt, they want to die with dignity in their own home. Mostly it's what the family want, to support their loved one's choice. However, to enable choice, we must enable safety. Quite simply, their environment must be safe, not only for them, but for carers and health workers to come and provide the necessary care. That's where adaptations come in, and they need to be done quickly. Quite simply, if they cannot be cared for safely at home, they cannot be cared for at home. I believe in choice, especially at the end of life. I believe in making people's final journey the very best it can be. That might sound odd, but that's where the rewarding part comes in, knowing you have fulfilled their last wishes with kindness, sympathy, and respect. What people don't appreciate is that this is not a dress rehearsal. You don't get a second chance to get it right. The lesson is simple. When somebody receives a terminal diagnosis, time becomes their most precious resource. If we force that person to spend months navigating bureaucracy, we are failing to recognise the reality of their situation. It's a terrible time, and every amount of time they have with their loved ones without pressure is precious. A fast-track scheme would not provide special treatment, but it would provide appropriate treatment. It would ensure that residents of Sevenoaks facing the most challenging circumstances receive the support they need when they need it most. Let us make sure that dignity is not determined by waiting times. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cole.
Madam Chairman, thank you. And I'm probably, with most people in this chamber, moved by the commentary that we've heard from all speakers so far and share the sentiments exactly. I think it's fair to point out at this stage that Sevenoaks are one of the better performing authorities when it comes to working with disabled facilities grants and other grants. Doesn't mean to say that we're perfect. I don't think there is an authority in the country that is perfect. But part of that, the reason why our response on occasion has not perhaps been as timely as we all would have liked, is because we are not the the whole arbiter of that situation. We work within a system that we are the provider working on behalf of KCC. And if it lends any support or reassurance, we have an example where we have turned around an application and approved and moved forward with adaptations in 6 days. Now that's fast track by anyone's definition, but it's not termed a fast track process. We recognise how important it is for residents living with progressive conditions to feel safe, supported and able to remain independent in their own homes for as long as possible. Residents should be able to seek adaptations as early as possible following diagnosis so that their future needs can be considered with care and sensitivity rather than only being addressed at point of crisis. The private sector housing grant policy adopted in March this year contains several measures intended to support timely, compassionate early intervention. Applicants with terminal illnesses, including conditions such as motor neuron disease and Huntington's disease, are exempt from the means testing process for DFGs, helping to remove barriers and enable applications to progress more quickly at what can be an extremely difficult time for residents and their families. Furthermore, occupational therapists are encouraged to consider an applicant's anticipated needs over the coming years, allowing future requirements to be planned for thoughtfully rather than addressed only when circumstances become urgent. We recognise that the delivery under the system we work at the moment, the delivery of disabled facility grants relies on several factors that are outside of our direct control. In particular, we are dependent on the availability and capacity of KCC's occupational therapy service to assess applicants and provide recommendations which are required before grant approval can be issued. The Council also relies on the availability of suitably qualified contractors to undertake adaptation works and demand, and contractor capacity can fluctuate significantly throughout the year. It should be recognised that the smaller adaptations do not necessarily need to proceed through the full disabled facilities grant process. The Council operates a safe and secure grant scheme which provides funding of up to £5,000 for minor adaptations and modifications that promote independence and safety within the home. This work can include things such as ramps, stair-related adaptations and other small-scale interventions. Madam Chair, I am broadly in support of the petitioner's motion. Because of the difficulties outlined in my response, and indeed within sort of the financing, and the fact that we are a district and not a unitary, as is Plymouth, I would like to, if I may, make an amendation to the recommendation by Councillor Streatfeild, in that the first 2 paragraphs of Councillor Streatfield's motion remain. The following paragraphs are as follows: that this council commits to working with KCC to explore how their processes could be more efficient without reducing the number of people who can be assisted with home adaptations with progressive or terminal conditions such as MND, ensuring target timeframes of 55 days for simple adaptations and 130 days for complex adaptations are adhered to. These timelines are based on the national guidance set out by the Foundations on Disabled Facilities Grant Delivery Standards. Point 2, reviewing the prioritisation of its work in the delivery of the DFGs within existing resources to investigate how any aspect can be sped up. It will report back to a future Housing and Health Advisory Committee and provide an online training session to explore the customer journey with members if necessary in order to support that report's recommendations. And point 3, writing to Kent County Council to express our ambition and expectations on KCC to achieve the above timeframes and for KCC's part in the process. My submission, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So you're amending Councillor Streatfield's amendment.
Forgive me, I heard that Councillor Streatfeild was amending. I didn't hear any, so forgive me if you had made amendments or if they are broadly in line with what I've just outlined to the Chamber.
I think we were working at pace and some confusion has arisen. I broadly agree with Councillor Cole's proposed amendments. There was just one commitment I thought we had agreed, which was to the next meeting of the Health and Housing, to report to the next meeting of Health and Housing, and to bring any decisions to the next full council meeting.
Okay, which we seem to be broadly in agreement with. So the overall amendment's agreed between both of you. Is there a seconder for your joint overall amendment?
I think that needs to be me again, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Shea. I think I'm following this. Indeed, oh good. Okay, is there any further debate on the joint amendments? Councillor Morgan.
Yes, I just want to make a small point to the cross to what's been said before. Before, we've been talking a lot about how people feel and a lot of the emotion about the carers, about the commitment that people have and so on. But I want to widen it just slightly to talk about the economic and social case for this. So essentially, compassion should be enough reason to support a fast track adaptation scheme. There is a strong practical case. The M&D Association reports that inaccessible housing contributes to poorer outcomes, greater risk and reduced quality of life for people living with M&D and their carers. When residents cannot safely move around their houses, the risks increase, independence decreases, the burden on family carers grows. The challenge is not that adaptations do not exist. The challenge is they arrive too late. The report, the Mayor, found that major adaptations in England take on average of 375 days from application to completion. And other councils have shown a better way. I know Plymouth, you talked about Plymouth not being in a unitary, but they're a good example. There's a fast track programme able to complete adaptations within 7 weeks for residents with terminal illnesses. East Riding Yorkshire has established practical targets of 55 days for simple adaptations and 130 days for complex works. Gloucestershire Council has developed a discretionary funding approach specifically for rapidly progressing conditions, helping to ensure more urgent adaptation needs can be addressed without unnecessary delay. These councils have recognised that waiting a year for an adaptation is not effective when a condition can change dramatically in a few months. And this is a wider benefit. When people can remain safely in their homes, maintain independence, support family-based care arrangements, communities are stronger. Families gain confidence that local government is responsive. Residents feel supported rather than abandoned. And councils demonstrate that public services can adapt to human need, rather than expecting vulnerable people to adapt to bureaucracy. Sevenoaks has long prided itself on being a council that values its residents. A fast-track pathway would put those values into action. Non-expensive vision is a practical adjustment to priorities. The question before us is not whether we can afford to move fast for people with terminal illnesses. The question is whether we can justify asking them to wait. And I think that, in conclusion, I would add also that, yeah, I would support what Richard said about Nick. I've only known Nick since I've became a councillor, and he's shown an example of his attitude to M&D as an attitude that a lot of people have. You start thinking about it in the public eye, about people like Stephen Hawking and so on. Adaptations of people like that is important because we get the benefit back from their mind and their abilities. So it actually gives us something back into the communities. So adaptations help these people give back into the communities which they serve. So it's actually a strong benefit for getting adaptations as quickly as possible to allow these people to carry on their contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. I know you've signified, Councillor Munson. Just wanted to say there does seem to be quite a lot of agreement across the council chamber on this motion. So I'm wondering if we could just move to a vote. Obviously, I'll let Councillor Cole and Councillor Stretfield speak if they wanted to, unless you've got things you want to add. Okay, you're both signifying that there are. So Councillor Manston first, please.
Thank you for allowing that because, yeah, as you can imagine, I am in broad agreement. But I did want to add that I was actually contacted by a resident in my ward about this. And I did contact the private sector housing team in January this year to ask if we have a fast track process and to talk about the disabled facilities grant. delivery standards. And I wanted to just highlight the response that I got to make sure that this motion incorporates that. So the reply that I had was that we don't have a fast track disabled facilities grant in place. However, we always look to prioritise an application for a person with a life-limiting condition. However, the delivery standards do not reflect the average turnaround, as there are several factors that come into play once the process has begun that we have no control over, such as occupational therapist assessment time, contractor availability, complex needs and type of adaptation. So I just wanted to ask that I didn't fully catch the wording of the amendment, but that amendment allows space to address those things to sort of make sure that we can achieve those targets. And I'm really grateful for this motion being brought today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Shay.
Thank you. And before I start, can I just check that we are speaking to the motion as a whole with all the amendments and we're not coming back to a substantive motion afterwards? Thank you. That's what's my understanding. I have something I would like to say, which has actually been written by Councillor Varley, and with the chair's agreement, I hope you'll hear me out. I hope this speech that he's written for me is as good as the one he wrote for Lord Coe. Dear colleagues, I remember vividly the cold, dark evening when I was given a death sentence. It was bonfire night, 2024. 6 months of worry and unsuccessful tests had concluded with 3 dreaded words: motor neuron disease. As I staggered out of the medical centre to my car, I also had a time frame, months rather than years. That is at the heart of why we've brought forward this motion. When you have a terminal illness, there's nothing more important than time. And if you need council support, you need it fast. In the words of the Motor Neuron Disease Association slogan, every day matters. I'm sorry that I'm not here to propose this motion. I would have loved to do so, but time is of the essence and I didn't want to wait until the next council meeting in December. I'd like to thank Claire for reading the words and Richard for moving the motion. Here's what everyday matters looks like in practice. The average time from a disabled facilities grant application to completed works for a large adaptation is 375 days. I might not have that long. Many people with motor neuron disease don't. 1/3 of us die within a year of diagnosis, more than half within 2. This isn't abstract. Earlier this year, the MND Association highlighted a young mother from Berkshire, diagnosed with MND shortly after giving birth, who needed a single-storey extension and wet room to live safely at home with her family. Her application sat in the same queue as anyone extending a kitchen. As her family put it, a terminal diagnosis shouldn't be treated the same as routine home improvements. Right now, the council, and we've understood the reasons why, means tests every DFG applicant with only narrow exceptions for children and those on qualifying benefits. There's no fast track, no waiver for someone facing a rapidly progressing terminal illness. I have watched from the inside how quickly a body can change and how slowly a system can move. Other councils are leading the way. Forest of Dean adopted a fast track motion in December, and East Riding of Yorkshire followed in January, unanimously, committing to 55 days for simple works and 130 for complex ones, with small adaptations like grab rails delivered within days. That is achievable. We've heard it. It's what I'm asking Sevenoaks to match. The motion asks for 3 things: a formal fast-track process for residents with MND and other progressive terminal illnesses, a waiver of the means test in those cases, because no one should have to prove that they can afford dignity in the time they have left, and a review of our DFG cap, unchanged since 2008, against what adaptations actually cost. Dear colleagues, when you have a terminal illness, you need 2 things: help and hope. This motion offers both. Help to anyone in my position in the district who needs council support, and hope to the MND community and others that their voice is being heard, even when, like me, they don't actually have one. I hope you will support the motion and vote for help and hope.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Cole.
Madam Chairman, yes, a very moving commentary, and I thank Councillor Shea for bringing that to the chamber to really bring home the emphasis. You've heard, and people in the chamber have heard, that there is broad agreement and consensus on the way forward to try and find a way to beef up the system at the moment. That there are hurdles along the way, which I'm sure can be addressed with the right will. I've spoke with Councillor Stretfield, who is aware of some of the blockages, but let's all work together and press ahead with the amendment, the motion that we are this evening, to try and get some movement on this, not just on behalf of our dear colleague, but for other residents within this district.
Thank you. Councillor Stretfield.
I don't think I need to add anything.
Thank you. In that case, we'll move to a vote. Those in favour, please show. Okay, thank you, members. That's unanimous and therefore carried. Thank you. Councillor Manston, would you like to stand and move your motion?
Out within the agenda papers.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Happy to second. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, councillor.
Thank you. Last month, parts of England exceeded 36 degrees and the Met Office issued a red extreme heat warning. At the same time, experts have warned that without action, our country could face significant water shortages in the decades ahead. These are no longer distant possibilities. They are real risks that will affect our communities, our infrastructure and our local environment. Whether or not members accept that the human race has significantly contributed to the pace of climate change, what we are experiencing, I think we can all agree on, is that the climate is changing and we need to A, limit the speed of change and B, adapt to that change. This motion is about taking practical, locally delivered action to prepare for the district for the challenges we're already beginning to experience and to put residents across the district on a more level playing field with regards to resilience. It includes items the council has full control over, items we can influence and items that seek to put residents on that level playing field wherever they are in the district. As a council, we cannot solve climate change on our own, but we do have an important role to play. Through our planning policies, our own operations and the partnerships we build, we can help reduce emissions, improve resilience and support residents as we adapt to a changing climate. This motion proposes a series of practical measures. It seeks to improve access to electric vehicle charging across the district, support better walking and wheeling infrastructure, strengthen consideration of embodied carbon in new development, encourage more sustainable use of food and resources, ensure whole life carbon is considered in major council asset decisions, and work with parish councils so that climate action is embedded across every community. It also recognises that water security must be treated as a fundamental part of planning for future growth. New development should be supported by the infrastructure needed to provide reliable water supplies and wastewater services. Above all, this is a balanced and pragmatic motion. It's about protecting residents, supporting sustainable economic development, making our communities more resilient and ensuring that Sevenoaks is prepared for the future. I hope members from all sides of the chamber will support the motion and I commend it to the council.
Thank you, councillor. Is there any debate? Councillor Roy.
As a member of the already be fully aware that every not only being addressed in action
the council has been delivering on all of these areas for several years through adopted strategy, agreed policy and funded programmes. We have a fully adopted climate change strategy supported by an action plan agreed in 2024, which is reviewed annually. It sets the ambition, aligns us with national and regional policy, embeds climate considerations across every service and places community leadership at the centre. Crucially, the most recent annual review showed that 41 out of 45 actions in the Climate Change Action Plan were completed or on track, with only 4 experiencing minor delays. Delays caused entirely by external factors, not internal resourcing or a lack of commitment. And even with those delays, none of the projects are at risk of failing to complete. That is a strong delivery record by any measure. EV infrastructure. On EV charging, the motion simply repeats the work that is already happening. We are expanding public EV charging on council land and have completed a district-wide EV infrastructure study to guide delivery across all wards. Draft local plan policies already require EV charging in all new development, and KCC's levy programme delivering 10,000 on-street chargers is fully funded and underway, including working with SDC to install hundreds of public chargers in our car parks. This directly supports residents without off-street parking, and equitable EV access is not just an aspiration, it is already being delivered. Water security. On water security, again, the motion mirrors existing work. Government has announced its intention to make water companies statutory consultees, which we welcome, but in practice, we already consult them on major applications. Draft policy UD1 requires developers to demonstrate utilities capacity and secure upgrades before occupation, a stronger position than many councils currently hold. We are preparing statements of common ground with all water companies to accompany the local plan, confirming the deliverability of required water and wastewater infrastructure. This is a proportionate, evidence-based and sound approach already in place. Active travel. Walking, wheeling and cycling are already embedded across our work. LC whips for Sevenoaks, Swanley and Edenbridge are complete, with routes included in the infrastructure delivery plan. LC whips cannot be delivered on a wall-by-wall basis. That is simply not how active travel planning works. These plans must be anchored around our main urban settlements where there is sufficient demand to justify the costs and where the evidence supports investment. LC whips are strategic documents designed to connect people to services, employment and transport hubs, not to mirror electoral boundaries. Draft policies T1 and T2 place walking and cycling at the top of the movement hierarchy, requiring safe, direct and attractive routes to all new development. We continue to work with KCC and Active Travel England to plan and deliver improvements. Again, the motion asks us to commit to something we are already doing. Embodied carbon. Draft local plan policy CC2 already requires major developments to submit whole life carbon assessments. Demolition proposals must consider reuse of existing buildings to avoid releasing embodied carbon. Draft policy CC1 encourages nature-based solutions, including offsetting via the Darrant Valley Landscape Recovery Scheme. These requirements are already embodied in our planning framework. Food and waste. The Food Waste Transition Project includes provision of a new recycling officer post. It is anticipated the new post will be in place by the end of the summer. The officer will be dedicated to working with resident schools and businesses on reducing waste, water use and single-use plastics. This is already funded and already happening. Council assets. Whole life carbon assessments are already used for major council-led development, including Land East of High Street. A blanket requirement across the whole of the council's existing estate is not proportionate or practical, given incomplete baseline data for older buildings and the reactive nature of essential maintenance. The council is already...
Sorry, Councillor Roy, you've reached the end of your time.
Took longer than...
Thank you. Is there any further debate? Councillor Clack.
Yes, thank you to Councillor Roy for that very fulsome answer, although cut short right at the very end. I had notified Councillor Manson that I was planning to suggest an amendment. I'm still not 100% certain on the making the water companies statutory consultees, whether that applies to planning applications rather than just the local plan, and whether it's just a proposal or something being discussed and therefore isn't necessarily 100% going to happen. That's obviously in the government's gift. So I was going to propose an amendment, which I've written out, which I'll say, and then I can pass it to the officers, and Councillor Manson has got it. It's a lot shorter. So it's this council resolves to, and then under the heading energy and electric vehicle and infrastructure. Council resolves to continue its excellent work with Kent County Council, relevant partners and organisations towards ensuring equitable access to electric vehicles, EV, charging infrastructure across all wards in the district. Very similar wording. Next heading, water security and planning, calls upon the government to add water companies as statutory consultees on major planning applications, and for the leader of the council to write to the Secretary of State to express this view. So that's my proposed amendment to the motion.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the amendment?
Oh yeah, happy to send you, second the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, so we're moving into debate on the amendment. Councillor Stretfield.
I think anyone who describes the continuation of the excellent work between Sevenoaks District Council and Kent County Council on the provision of EV chargers in Sevenoaks has not been looking at the minutes of the JTB for the last 4 years. The Councillor Manston, in her original motion, makes a very good point that EV rollout in the district and in the town has been little short of, I mean, it makes snails look as though they're going at Mach 10. It really is, and I think Councillor Roy might agree, having chaired those meetings, calling time and time again for that to speed up. Overall, in this motion, we can't find anything much to vote against, because it seems to be like voting for a hug. It's everything you want, but not everything you're going to get. And certainly, I'm not going to get one from Councillor Horwood this evening. But it is not arguable against, and I would gently suggest that where motions come forward, that it needs to be asking for something practical to be done, and that can be measurable and timely and impact residents in a way that is going to see, rather than a vote for motherhood and apple pie, although I am, in this case, quite happy to vote for motherhood and apple pie.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any further debate on the amendment? Councillor Morgan, sorry.
Just a small point, the Councillor Roy was making how wonderful the Sevenoaks is doing all this already. Then surely doesn't it make sense to vote for this motion, because it just brings everything together in one point and just reiterates everything that was already being done. If that's the case, everything in the garden is so wonderful. Why can't we vote for this amendment? Sorry, for this motion.
Thank you. Any more debate on the amendment? Councillor Clack, did you want to say any more?
Just like to thank everyone for the excellent debate.
Thank you. We've ranged across apple pie and hugs, which is quite unusual in debate. Thank you. In that case, we'll move to, oh, sorry, Councillor Manson, sorry.
That's okay, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I'll come back to my points, if that's okay with Councillor Roy afterwards. But I welcome the amendment. I think that there's a lot that we're doing. I do appreciate that in Clean and Greener Committee, but there's a lot more that needs to be done, and I can't risk that none of this goes through by not voting for the amendment and being satisfied with some of it. So thank you for the amendment, Councillor Clack.
Thank you. Move to a vote. Thank you. Okay, so those in favour of the amended motion?
Sorry, Chair, are we on the amendment or the amended motion?
Amendment, sorry. Oh. Anyone voting against, please show. Any abstentions? Yes, so the amendment is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. We're now moving to agenda. Sorry, I blame my advisors. Okay, so we're now going back to the substantive motion as amended. Any debate? Councillor Thornton.
No, I'm just going to say I'm a little bit as confused as you are. So we just amended the original start point. I mean, I myself found this motion just so long-winded. Apologies, Laura. I see what you're trying to achieve. And when I went through here and listened to Councillor Roy, and actually I quite liked to hear what the rest of your thing was, what you were going to say, because you got cut short in your prime. But from my understanding, actually, most of the things you're asking for, we are doing already, and we're doing as well as can be expected with what we've got to play with. So I'm slightly confused as to what we're meant to be doing now and to exactly what we're voting on. Is that just me? Have I not been listening? Can I have some clarity, please, when it's all wrapped up at the end, perhaps? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clack.
I think we're left with a motion, which is what I read out. So it's that, and I've got that if you need it.
Okay, any further debates?
I'd like.
Councillor Roy.
Can I not come back to the? Oh,
Madam Chairman, I think Councillor Roy has spoken on the motion.
I'm advised you've already spoken, Councillor Roy. I'm sorry.
how irritating to be cut short and then not allowed to speak again.
You need to speak more quickly. That's the answer.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Is there any, Councillor Dybel?
Chair, I would be very happy to continue Councillor Roy's debate here, if that's okay. She would like to just finish it. So if I may, is that okay?
I believe so. It's your voice.
Okay, so with regard to parish partnerships, with the sole exception of the point relating to the National Water Petition, which is a matter for government and already progressing through DEFRA's white paper, every element of this motion is already being delivered through our adopted climate change strategy, our action plan, our local plan policies, and our established partnership programmes. This council is not waiting for motions to tell us how to act on climate change. We have a clear strategy, funded projects, and active delivery already happening across the district in infrastructure, in planning, in development management, in community engagement, and in our own operations. These are not theoretical commitments. They are live programmes, already resourced, already embedded, and already making a measurable difference. So while Councillor Roy recognises the intention behind the motion, it does not strengthen our position. It simply repeats actions the council is already implementing at pace actions that have been agreed, scrutinised, funded and are now being delivered. To bring this motion forward this evening has not been a productive use of the council's time, given that all of the work it calls for is already underway. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lindop.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's been a very productive use of the council's time to be discussing the biggest issue that affects the world and all of us. And now that the motion has been nicely amended, thanks to Councillor Clack, I'm sure we'll all have no problem in passing it through. The motion will also show to our residents that we care and want to just go that little extra step further in guiding ourselves, in guiding KCC and in showing to the government what we're trying to do on behalf of especially the poorest people who are really suffering at the moment because of the heat waves. I commend this motion to council.
Thank you. Is there any further debate apart from? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Horwood.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I just really wanted to reiterate the importance of especially the points that Councillor Manson and Councillor Roy has raised about water companies. And we know there's been an intense focus on water companies, and the fact that we're under a hosepipe ban in parts of our district reiterates that point and expectations of all of us that we should be holding water companies to account. When I was on the scrutiny committee, I originally proposed the water companies come before scrutiny, and they've obviously come before twice now on this council. And I think that is a tool we should continue to explore, especially perhaps after the local plan is progressed, to again reiterate those needs within our district for water infrastructure. But as Councillor Roy suggested I wound up, I would just respond to Councillor Streatfield's point, and in the good spirit of myself, say that he is welcome for a hug anytime, as is any member of this council. Just on a serious point, we know it's been a horrific week for elected members or ex-elected members of Parliament, with obviously Anne Widdecombe's murder, and indeed in my own area, one of our councillors, our county councillor, has highlighted that he's worries around public safety at the moment. So I think, as Councillor Manson actually originally proposed the LGA motion of, sort of good conduct and good behaviour in the closing this debate, I'd just like to encourage all members to consider that, and of course, to offer each other's hugs if they need it. Thank you.
Thank you. We will be short a minute. Your comments about offering hugs. Okay, Councillor Manston, would you like to?
Thank you. Yeah. Yep, I'm up for a hug if anyone needs it. And so I think I just wanted to, I won't cover all of the points that Councillor Roy's made, seeing as the motion has been amended. So we're really only looking at the two key points now. But one thing I just want to really highlight is I agree that we are working on elements of all of these points, and possibly something that's maybe I could highlight it a little bit more is that the key point about this motion is about equality across the district. And I'm speaking as someone who has 0 electric car chargers in my ward, none. It's, I accept that there are areas that have more, but I think it's 11 wards that have no electric car charging, and these tend to be wards that have very little public transport, very poor walking and wheeling infrastructure. So it really exacerbates the problem. So it's that equality of people across the district that I was seeking to address. So so I'm really pleased that we can consider that a bit more with electric charges, and I'm really pleased that to have that support about the fact of water companies being statutory consultees as something we need to call for, because I think we've all seen concerns from South East Water that they're not going to be able to provide the water we need for the development the government wants. And I think, we need to put something in place so that planning committees and officers have a stronger way to reject inappropriate development. So, yeah, thank you. And I'll close there. Thanks.
Thank you. So we're moving to a vote now on the motion as amended. All those in favour, please show. Anyone against or any abstentions? That's unanimous and therefore carried. Thank you, members. Moving on to agenda item 10, a report from the Leader of the Council on the work of the Cabinet since the last council meeting. Councillor Cole.
Madam Chairman, this is quite simply to present the Leader's report in the Leader's absence.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cole. Are there any questions from members on that report? Okay, thank you very much. So thank you everyone for your time, your patience and your contributions this evening. Please be reminded that there's a special meeting of Cabinet which will take place after the council meeting in the council chamber here. Now declare this meeting closed.
Can I just wish Councillor Scott a happy birthday, who's chosen to be with us this evening?
Well done. Thank you.